In order to effectively plan out your poker tournament schedule for the year, you need to create a poker calendar that keeps your travel costs, buy-ins, poker goals, bankroll, and the EV of each event into account. And in this video, I'll show you how. My name's Alec Torelli. I'm a professional poker player and coach, and after working with several clients who were either doing this wrong or just neglecting it entirely, I created an easy-to-follow system, which of course I'll share with you as well, that allows you to create a poker calendar that is planned out responsibly and ensures you're comfortable with the risks you're taking, giving yourself the best chance for success. Keep watching. Here's the 5-step process I use with my client to turn his dream of traveling the poker circuit to exotic locations into a tangible reality, and actionable ways you can do so as well. Step 1, set an ambitious goal. For example, my client's goal, we'll call him Mike, was to final table a poker tournament in the year 2020. That's awesome. Now, notice how his goal is both inspiring and doable. It falls right within that sweet spot where it's exciting enough to compel him to take action, but realistic enough that it feels possible. That's what you're looking for. Once we got clear on his goal, we worked together to determine the probability that it would happen. This allowed him to better prepare himself financially and understand the risks involved so he could manage his bankroll. Using what's called a poker variance calculator, which I explained how to use in another video, linked below, I helped him estimate important metrics such as his return on investment, variance, probability of loss, win rate, and ultimately the likelihood that he would in fact make a major tournament final table. So many people neglect this step or get it wrong. And this is often catastrophic because people end up overexposing themselves and losing more money than they anticipated, or simply not having realistic expectations about things like their win rate. Being aware of the numbers lets you plan for the future, understand how much money you can make per hour, and how viable of an option poker is, either as a full-time endeavor or simply as a side hustle. Unfortunately, I've seen too many players, even competent ones to be honest, fail to succeed because they don't have a solid foundation upon which they can build. I always say it's tantamount to having beautiful artwork, but a house made of bamboo. So please don't skip this step. And if you want to save yourself the headache and have my personal guidance, you can apply to work with me virtually or in person at the link below, and we'll build that house made of steel together. Step 2 is to map out your poker travels. So once Mike had a clear goal and a better understanding of the risks involved, it was time to lay out the calendar for the year. We used a simple Excel spreadsheet, which I've made available for free either on this blog post or at the description below, and we got everything down in one place. Now, this is where the fun part is. If you see something that you like or that you may want to do or an event you want to go to, add it to the list. You'll have time to revise your list later, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. Start by visiting the major tournament websites like the WSOP, WPT, EPT, as well as any news outlets like Card Player to see the schedules for all the events for the year. Also in the spreadsheet I created, there's a resources tab which conveniently links all of these events and their tournament schedules for you. We mapped out the various events that seemed exciting to him, like the EPT in Sochi or WPT in Barcelona, and backed on multiple events upon each other whenever possible to save on expenses and so that he could more efficiently balance his work life with his poker travels and endeavors. Here's a pro tip. Not all events will have the tournaments listed, so use the previous year's schedule as an estimate to help plan what you'll do for this year. Also, if you're looking to play cash games instead or on the side, I have a best practices on how to do that in a minute, so stay tuned. Step 3 is to determine your poker bankroll. Using that same spreadsheet, we created a separate column to enter the buy-in per event and another column for expenses that Mike will incur for each trip. I always recommend my clients to keep buy-ins and expenses separate so that you have a better understanding of the costs, risk reward, and overall ROI. This doesn't have to be fancy. In fact, the simpler the better. As you see when you'll download the spreadsheet, it's very basic, but it gets the job done. Step 4 is to revise your list. Once you have all the trips on paper or virtually, and you have the total bankroll needed, which is the sum of your buy-ins and your estimated expenses, go back through the list and cut out the low value events, the bottom 20%, or events where there is a low bang for your buck. For example, let's say one of the events on your list is a WPT in Amsterdam. After looking at the numbers, you realize that it's a $1,500 buy-in, but it's going to cost you more than that in terms of expenses plus hotels to go to the event. Therefore, that's a low value event. What you're looking for is the opposite, events with high potential to play multiple events and cash games on the side if that's what you're into. Those are the high value events you want to laser in on. And also remember, the numbers aren't everything. The value isn't everything either. There's obviously something exciting about visiting Amsterdam, which you can't really quantify, so you'll have to assess your priorities to determine whether or not a particular event should be kept on your list or eliminated. One more pro tip. While I typically don't recommend playing cash games and tournaments at the same time, as I think it's best to focus on one, you can arrive a few days early, grind some cash games, and then transition to tournaments for the duration of your trip. Or just do the opposite. When you're done with the tournaments, play a few cash games before going home. Many of my clients found that mixing in cash games and tournaments is a great strategy, as cash games help to lower your variance and can be used to offset some of the buy-ins that you use for tournaments, or to simply pay for the trip so you're on a free roll. In short, it's kind of like the business version of having a balanced portfolio, like a mixture of stocks and bonds. So, not sure what the action will be during the event? Call the casino and ask what cash games typically run or ran last year during the same event. Also, be sure to find out what the rake is, especially if you're playing in Europe, as that can be a killer. Step 5 is to physically segregate your funds. Remember, this is a business, and all businesses require some sort of investment. It's important to note that the money you invest may come, of course, entirely from you, but when done correctly, it's always separate, in a separate dedicated account, and not mixed at all with personal finances. This is especially important in poker, where there's a ton of variance. Plus, the costs you're going to incur are a certainty, meaning you will have like a burn rate, so to speak, or operating costs. In short, I treat it like a business because it is. Again, this process doesn't have to be fancy. Simply segregate your funds by opening a dedicated checking account that's used exclusively for poker. I also recommend my clients to open a savings account for expenses and get a dedicated credit card for that, one that earns air miles, of course, so they can keep track of expenses. You can take this step one step further and open 2 checking accounts, one for tournaments and another for cash games, along with the savings, but that's not definitely necessary. Just ensure you don't play any poker until you physically move those funds into a bank account that you don't touch for anything else. Alright, now you're on your way to crushing it. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications right now so you are always aware when a new video comes your way and you don't miss one. And if you want exclusive tips to take your poker game to that next level that I only share with subscribers, head over to consciouspoker.com and hop on the newsletter. Of course, it's absolutely free. Now, I'd love to see what you're up to. Which tidbit was your favorite? Was it the goal setting exercise, or perhaps it was how to better manage your bankroll to set you up for success? Let me know really quick in the comments below. Thanks a lot for your guys' attention. You're awesome, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.